Next week sees the 6th anniversary of David Bowie's death, and it's been announced that his entire publishing catalogue, including Starman, which we heard there, Space Oddity, Heroes and hundreds of other songs, have been sold to Warner Chappell Music. It follows similar deals by Bruce Springsteen, Bob Dylan and Paul Simon. The Irish Times media correspondent Laura Slattery is on the line. Laura, what's known about this deal?
Well, this is one of the very big deals that we've seen recently in the sale of song composition rights to both the big three record labels and a number of private equity groups that have been circling this market because they really see songs by artists such as David Bowie as investable assets and ones that can deliver a return over the long term. So this deal was done by David Bowie's estate, which he left to his wife Iman and 2 children. And it's 6 years after his death, and it covers 26 of the studio albums that he recorded while he was alive, as well as a couple of other bits and pieces and side projects. So almost all of his recorded work. The publishing rights to that now will go to the publishing arm of Warner Music, which is one of the big three, as I said. And it had also recently bought the copyright to the master recordings of David Bowie's work. It had already owned some of them. So it effectively controls now David Bowie's huge song catalogue, extremely successful and influential artist that he was. Songs like Space Oddity and Heroes, as you mentioned, Life on Mars, Ashes to Ashes, The Man Who Sold the World, all of them essentially. And anytime those songs are streamed, they're played on radio or in a public place, or whenever they are licensed to film and TV or on ads, revenue will accrue to Warner.
The figure being mentioned is in the region of $250 million. Given how much music we're talking about, that sounds like a pretty good deal for the buyers.
I think it's probably a good deal for both sides. Certainly there has been a lot of demand from buyers of late, and this market has been driven in effect by the realisation that these are long-term investments as such, that streaming has increased access to the back catalogues of these so-called heritage artists. But at the same time, there's a reason why, David Bowie's estate, this is just the latest deal. We've seen Bruce Springsteen, Bob Dylan, Stevie Nicks, Neil Young also cut similar deals where they share either all or share of their publishing rights to these groups. And for their point of view, for living artists of a certain age, they might see it as a way of sort of managing their financial legacy as well as their artistic one. And it's happening at a time over the past 2 years where perhaps that one last big payday of a massive world tour has become a lot more complicated because of COVID.
In the well-known cases, obviously, we're talking about artists like those you mentioned there, with an immense number of songs over many decades. Are similar, albeit smaller, deals done with other writers and performers?
Well, performers and songwriters, and I suppose these types of deals are really related to the ones done by songwriters. They will typically sign a publishing deal at the outset of their career, unless they choose to sort of manage it in a kind of a self-publishing fashion. And the nature of publishing deals that they do has changed dramatically since, the 1960s when David Bowie started his career. And, probably now I think there's a realisation that you probably shouldn't give away so much of your rights, which was the norm in the 60s. And a number of these artists actually, would have fought to take back control of as much of their publishing rights as they could over the years. So I suppose there is a bit of an irony when we see them selling, something that is extremely valuable to them. But as I said, it's just that sort of market timing has come into play here. And really, there is an advantage for the older legacy artists. They already have familiarity. They have a lot of cut-throughs still. They have a generation of listeners who might have already bought their music on vinyl and later on CD during the sort of glory days of the music industry.
You might already at this stage have bought something in 3 or 4 different formats, depending on where you started.
Yes, exactly. And some people still will stream a song or an album, even though they have the physical copy somewhere lurking on their shelves. So, these are artists who have cashed in several times, but you can't really blame them. And you know, these are hundreds of millions of dollars. It's you know, these are creative masterpieces in many cases.
Boom times for the big names. Laura, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Laura Slattery there of the Irish Times. 9 minutes to 8. We'll have business news and the weather forecast after a quick break.